guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Liz, and today I wanted to do a relaxed chit-chat video where I talk about college and my freshman year. I will give some advice, some tips, and I will also give some advice for online learning. My senior year of college was last year, and the second semester transitioned to online. I am entering graduate classes in 2 weeks, so I will be going back to college, kind of like some of you, and I wanted to make some pointers just for those of you who may be worried about how college is going to look if it's online, and it was originally intended not to be, because there's definitely a difference between curriculum that is designed to be online versus curriculum that is usually in person but now has to be online. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe. That helps me out a lot. At the end of the video, I will put a slide that has the points that I cover, but other than that, it's just going to be a really relaxed video. So kick back, get a cup of tea, cup of coffee, cup of soda, cup of water, who knows, and let's get into it. So my first piece of advice is to attend orientation, even if it is online. So thinking back to my freshman year, they had a lot of events planned for freshmen. At my university, they really cared about having students meet others, get involved, try to be as social as possible. And so now with COVID regulations, even living on campus isn't possible for many people, so getting that kind of experience is going to be different. Your school will most likely have virtual orientations planned, and you should be getting emails about them. If not, I would look on your school's website, or I would try to email people, because your school kind of owes you that to know what's going on. They should be emailing you updates already, but they want to help you out. You should have contact with your advisor so that you know which courses you're taking, or if you need to add a course or drop a course, and how that's all going to work. And if this sounds overwhelming right now, it's going to be okay. I will let you know how you can get through it and breathe, don't worry. One of my biggest pieces of advice, which applies to more than just school, is that you'll get out of it what you put into it. So if you want to get the most out of your school, make the most connections possible, and meet as many people as possible, even virtually, you should take advantage of the resources that they give you. So one, they might give you an orientation or different workshops online, or they might do meet people in a certain department, so you can meet professors in a department. And the last choice, at the very least, is attend the classes that you are scheduled to be in. So I know with everything being online, it might be tempting to just watch a recorded lecture, or if your professor chooses to post slides, you might just look at the slides that they wrote instead of attending the lecture. But I would say if your professor goes out of their way to actually have a class at a specific time, I would try your best to be there. Definitely try your best, because you want to get the most out of your class, and the teacher may say something that they don't actually write down in their notes, or, which this is the best way that I learn, is when another student asks a question, then the professor will answer it and perhaps give more insight or clues as to what that material is about, or different clues for future quizzes or tests. So I would say definitely attend classes. If your schedule isn't 100% what you want, don't be worried. Unfortunately, freshmen don't get the first pick of classes because they're not as worried about graduating, and so you might not get into your top favorite classes, and that's okay, because you'll still have enough time later on to get into them. And one of the great things is that all the other freshmen are in the same boat. So if you end up being put into a class that you're like, oh, well, I don't know, I guess they put me in it, okay. Well, other freshmen will probably be in that class, and you can use that as a bonding experience. So don't get discouraged. Eventually you'll get all the classes you want, all the classes you need, and hopefully whatever experiences you do have can be used to make connections and be a learning experience. Okay, so my next piece of advice is how to meet people, make connections, and hopefully make friends. So again, your opportunities to meet people in your classes will happen virtually. However, your class roster may be available for you to see the people in your class. So I know for when I was in college, we had an app on our phones that had the classes that we were in, as well as the professor's name and email address, and then the students' names and email addresses. So if you are worried that when you're in class you see all of these people in the same room, but you don't know who to contact, or you can't remember their information, there should be something in your class schedule. Maybe it's online in the student portal where you can see some of the other members in your class. And if not, you can always reach out to the professor so that, you know, you need a study group, you need other people to work with because you just can't do it all on your own, which is totally normal. You can definitely look up that information. I know for me, I already tried to get in touch with some of the people in my graduate classes, so I sent out an email and said, hey, I am going to start a group me for this class. The class I'm in is relatively small, so it wasn't a big deal to send an email to 8 people. For you, it may be different. You don't need to email like 30 or 40 people or 100 people, but just because you don't have a face-to-face connection with someone doesn't mean you can't reach out. And with that, I know the traditional way of like meeting new people in school is when you sit in a completely empty classroom and random people sit next to you, and sometimes that's where you'll sit for the rest of the year, and those are the only people you talk to. Obviously, with virtual classes, that's not going to be the case because you're not just going to be sitting next to people and be forced to talk to them. So my advice would be the people that ask the most questions in class, maybe reach out to them. Or maybe the teacher will help the students in their own class get to know each other by saying like, hey, let's go through our names, say where you're from. Maybe you'll see someone that is from a similar area to you and you can bond over that. The biggest thing is don't be afraid and don't think that you're limited to never meeting people and never making friends in college, because that's definitely not true. So in talking about meeting new people and making friends and feeling the pressure to find your place in college, or feeling the pressure to have your best friends that you're going to have all 4 years, that is overrated, and it's probably not going to happen. For me, I was put into a dorm with people that I didn't know because I went to a college where no one from my high school went to the same college. So I didn't know who I was going to room with, and I didn't know anyone at the school. So when certain events were in place, I would be surrounded by my roommates a lot. And I loved my roommates, but we didn't have the same major, we didn't have the same interests. So my roommates from my freshman year didn't end up being the people that I hung out with the most, you know, all 4 years, or even like this past senior year. So I would say, don't worry if you don't find that group freshman year, it's okay, and you'll have more time. The vaccine will come. People will eventually be able to have classes in person. So the next advice I have is regarding student organizations, clubs, intramural sports. So usually in the fall when I started, they had something called a bazaar, but it was basically a conference where different clubs had their own little table with a poster, and anyone, freshmen or even seniors, anyone walking on campus could walk through, see all these different clubs and orgs. They could write their name down, their email, and that was how you would get information on what the club was doing, where they were meeting, times, everything. I know for the college that I just graduated, they're doing that virtually, and I'm not sure how successful that will be, but I'm glad that they're doing it, just because this year might look different. You might not be able to have groups meeting in person. Doesn't mean you shouldn't ever look to join that group, especially when you think about leadership in a group, because people that are the president or the director, whatever it may be, if they're not around the following semester, someone needs to take their spot. So without having anything this semester, it kind of makes pressure on the orgs that is kind of scary if they have no one to like take the place in the following semester. So again, attend anything virtually, and if your school doesn't have a virtual orientation for orgs, look on your school's website. If you can find an org, see if they have an Instagram, see if they have a Facebook account. Try what you can to find information, because if it's not emailed to you by the school, it might be hard to find. But a lot of times the students will be running the club, so they'll have their Instagrams ready, they'll have different things to help people stay updated about what is going on. Now my biggest tip for online classes. So this may look different depending on the school you're at. Some schools have online curriculum as a part of what they normally do, and then some schools, like the one that I went to, was fully in person, so professors that would teach in person had to transition. There was no use this online book that's designed for online courses, or use these online quizzes and tests. So a lot of it was new for the professors that I had, and so I would keep in mind that when you have new professors, give them a little slack because they might be learning things too. Don't feel too stressed because everyone will figure it out eventually, and it's okay if it doesn't come together right away. So back to what I was going to say was my biggest tip is to have a scanning app on your phone. So with my iPhone, it has notes, and there's a capability in notes to scan and convert something to a PDF. And if you don't have an iPhone, it's okay. You can also download the app Genius Scan. I've used that a lot, but it makes it so that your notes, whatever colors, whatever pencil, marker, whatever, can be easily converted to a PDF, and usually it's a very good quality, so it clarifies and it cleans up the image, rather than like if you had eraser marks and it's hard to see just by taking a photo on your phone. Also, if depending on the equipment that your professors use, if they have iPads, they can easily edit and write over the PDF, so they can like correct your work right away, and it's really convenient. So I would say, especially for math courses, definitely have a scanning phone on your app, so that way if you have a question or you're working on a problem, you can have all of your work scanned and sent easily. You're definitely going to be emailing your professors a lot, because that's just how it's going to be with virtual classes, so I'd keep that in mind. So I would say practice scanning something and emailing it to yourself so that you're ready for this year. I have this random fun tip, which is get a mini vacuum. I don't know if you're living at home or on campus or at your own apartment, whatever it may be, a mini vacuum is necessary. It will change your life. If you get a mini vacuum, keep it to yourself because people will want to steal it. So the next point that I'm going to touch on is about keeping yourself safe and others safe. So with my situation at my graduate school, I will be having one class in person, and then the rest of my classes will be online. So for one of my classes, I will be allowed to go on campus. It's a very small size class. We'll all be wearing masks. There's very specific procedures and everything. That may not be the case for your school. I know a lot of schools aren't letting people at all on campus, and then some schools, maybe a lot of people will have most of their classes in person. So with that, I think most people would agree that they don't want to get sick. So the best thing you can do is wear your mask, practice social distancing, and try your best to wash your hands. Be aware of what's going on, and that's kind of all I'm going to say on that. My next piece of advice is to do your best in your classes. So a lot of people might think, woo, like this is my first year of college, like I get to do whatever I want. There might be a problem with that because of things being virtual, but even if things weren't virtual, freshman year might be one of your few opportunities to have your high GPA, because courses typically get harder the longer you're in college, because what you take your freshman year, your sophomore year are the prerequisites for the harder classes. So you want to try your best so that you can start strong and later not have to worry about retaking a class. If you're struggling in a class, email your professor, go to their office hours. If office hours conflict with if you have a job or if you have another class, then communicate that to your professor, because you are paying them, you are paying the school. It's their responsibility to help you learn, especially if you really want to, because most people go to college so that they can learn something, and it's your responsibility to make sure you get the most out of what you put into it. So my next piece of advice, which will hopefully relieve stress, is it's okay if you don't know your major. It's okay if you're not taking lots of classes for a specific major for your freshman year. It takes people a while to figure out what they're passionate about, what they see themselves doing long term. You know, it's different to take a class in something rather than to have that as your job. So I took a cultural anthropology class. I don't think I would ever be a good cultural anthropologist. Like, that's not something I could see as a career, but I still enjoyed the class, I still had a good experience, and that was one of the courses I took my freshman year. So don't think that just because maybe you're someone who does know exactly what they want to do as their major, but you can't even get into those courses because they're full or something like that. It's okay, you're gonna be okay, things will work out for the following years, and you'll be able to get the classes that you need, and you'll be able to graduate, and everything will be okay. I know for me, before I went to my college, I had like 3 different plans for 3 different majors, and I wrote down every different class that I was going to take. I knew the professors that taught those courses. I knew who I had to email to get into the classes, and I had 3 majors figured out. It didn't matter because I changed my mind. I started off with a computer science major, and then I took some math courses and eventually decided to add math as another major. So it took me a while to figure that out, but I was able to work very closely with amazing advisors, amazing mentors, and they were able to help me plan my schedule, make sure that I was able to take the courses that I needed to graduate, and everything worked out. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and things will work out for you. You will definitely be okay. As a closing thought, I will reiterate something I said earlier, which is you'll get out of it what you put into it. I remember being a freshman and not knowing what was coming next and feeling like both emotionally and mentally drained because of courses and trying new things and figuring lots of things out. However, things will get better. You can take a minute to breathe, take a minute for self-care, and things will be okay. I probably would consider my freshman year my least favorite of the 4 years of college, but it's still a learning experience, and I'm very grateful for my college experience. And if you want me to talk more in depth on what my freshman year was like, you can let me know. I got requests to do this video specifically because I did a video on the courses I took as a double major, so I will put that up here. If you click on the little eye, there'll be a card and a link right to that video. But yeah, I double majored, and I did not know that I was going to be able to do that my freshman year, but I was able to work hard and get all the prerequisites done, so I'm very grateful for that. I also didn't meet my amazing best friends until probably sophomore year of college, and those were the people that were more into my majors, which were computer science and math. And I also was able to join a dance group, so that dance group was a big part of my freshman year all throughout college, and that was a good escape, and it provided a balance for me between academics and fun and meeting other people and having a group that I felt like I belonged to. So I would just say, even if you can't do absolutely what you would normally do because things are online, it doesn't mean that you can't get something out of this first semester. I'll put a link to my college videos and reflection videos in the description box, and thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have other ideas that you'd like to see me talk about, but I hope this video can provide some advice and help for you to get through this coming year. I will be getting through it with you together. Thanks so much for watching.